Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Suboptimal. I'm your host, Michael Pekovic, and thanks for tuning in today. I'm going to talk about the coffee shop, and I'll explain how it came to be, what my setup costs were, how the day went, and a little bit of a review, the steps that I took to achieving the outcome, and maybe some of the things that I know that I could do better for next time, and in the hope that it helps you with any goals that you've got going on in your life. So I've mentioned this in another podcast, but I was asked a few weeks ago to set up a cafe. And while I wasn't really sure about what it was going to look like, when it came to the crunch, it ended up being a pop-up, like a trial for 2 days, and not a trial in terms of hiring me as a staff, but a trial to see if the concept actually works, which for me is much better than just going straight in and making some business go and seeing if it works. At the moment, it's just that feels a little bit too risky for me, to be honest. So, we just kind of kept it pretty low key, low risk, and that's the platform that we used. And the reason why we started was because the restaurant, which is a curry restaurant based at the Fukushima Prefectural Art Museum in Fukushima City, there's a restaurant there. A friend of mine wants to open it up to morning traffic. It was me running my coffee stand and a friend of mine selling fresh vegetables from his farm. So I decided to go with the name called Macchinetta, and Macchinetta is like a colloquial way of saying a moka pot in Italian. I'm not Italian, but I just kind of did a bit of research into moka pot and coming up with a name for my business, and I landed on Macchinetta because it sounds cool, and it is a little machine in so many senses. It just helped me so much on the actual day, just banging out coffees. So the name is totally appropriate for the business. And so I got there on the Saturday, July 19, and got there quite early to set up everything. So I set up my little station. I got this prime spot in the main counter area of the restaurant, and the counter's right in front of me, so I can talk directly with customers. And then for anyone else who's dining out by the window areas, I can just go and take my coffee out to them, or the staff help me in certain cases. So got there early and started brewing coffee. So I'd prepared all of this iced coffee for in case the people wanted to drink something cool. And turns out that was a really good thing to do, because most of my orders ended up being iced coffee. So I had a very simple menu. I had iced black coffee, iced latte, then a hot latte, hot black coffee, and a demi-tasse. I had something called Michael's coffee, which is the coffee that I drink at home. And that's, about 300 mils of just black mocha pot coffee, and not for the faint of heart. But turns out that quite a few people had ended up ordering that, which was really good. I was really surprised by that. So kept the menu simple so I didn't overwhelm myself or the customers, because it's a new concept, and I made the drinks very accessible to the Japanese palate, which is always a good thing to do in Japan if you're running a kind of, especially a food and beverage business, that going in with that mindset that I want to apply an Aussie-based cafe in Japan and just run it as like that, it's probably not going to work as well. But when you think about the mindset of the audience that you're creating this for, and you kind of make it an easy access point for them, then it works so much better. And it did work well. So I was ready to go by 8:30. Customers started coming through. I had a few regulars, not for my coffee so much, but regular faces that came in to support the business. Really lovely, which was nice to see them. So they ordered, they sat down, they watched me make coffee, and they got to see what I do and how I operate. And as well, everything I'm doing is in Japanese, and I'm not a perfect Japanese speaker, but man, it was such a good eye-opener to be doing this in Japanese, because I have to learn and explain what I'm doing, the flavors of the coffee, how customers like to drink coffee, and then also engaging in a conversation. So huge learning curve. And I think it's something that I know that I'll be able to do really well over time as I get more confident and comfortable making coffees and working with volume and traffic and money transactions. And I actually did a lot better than I thought I would, because I've never done anything like that before. I've never really been on the other side of hospitality. I've always been a diner or a coffee drinker at a place, and I'm very observant of what's going on. But to be on the other side is so different. But it's also a place where I felt really comfortable. I didn't feel stressed out or frantic. I just took everything, one by one, and just let it happen. And if it got busy, still kind of just stick to that philosophy. And if there was going to be any delay, which there ended up not being, but just to pre-warn people. So in my menu, I wrote down that, the coffee is over a gas cooker. So it does take some time. Just be aware of that when you're ordering. So that also, I think, set expectations as well early on. I worked probably about, let's say, 4 or 5 hours each day. So it was good. It was quiet in the morning, and then started to peak from about 11. Saturday was definitely the busy day, because there was an event next door in the art museum, a big event. So a lot of people were coming for that, and people who didn't want to dine for lunch and eat curry, but they just wanted to have a quick coffee before they went in or after they came out. That was the opportunity for me. And the rest of the people were diners for the restaurant. So, and it's such a good location to be able to operate in, because the foot traffic is huge. But I know that I've always got a home at, it's called M Curry, at M Curry now, because I've, established myself quite well. I've built the trust of the owner, who's my friend as well, and he wants me to come back when I want to come back. So it's set up really well to continue as relaxed or as intense as we both want. So I like that. Ultimately, I think that I want to make my coffee shop a bit more like coming into my home. That's why I'm doing the gas cooking, and I'm staying in my lane and doing the things that I would do at home, just on a little bit more of a scale basis. So, of course, I want it to be lively and a bit of a lineup for people to order coffees and that type of stuff. But I also want to be able to have a sit down with customers and talk about things and get to know locals and build that repeat customer base as well. So that's something that I need to be mindful of in my own journey on this. So I've set my price at a price that I feel comfortable at. I feel the customers were comfortable paying that price as well. And things like the Michael's coffee. But again, people paid that price because they wanted to drink the coffee that I drink. So yeah, there's things that I would like to do, and that's probably one of the good bits of reflection that I've gotten from this is just learning what I could do better if I had it in my own space. And I'm so grateful for being able to leverage it off my friend's space and build my own client base that way. So I think that initially there might be a bit of, me moving around to various locations and offering different types of services. So I'd like to be able to go out and deliver coffee. And I know that that's maybe not an effective business model, but in terms of brand building exercise, I think it might be a good way for me to go and meet people and establish rapport with businesses. My goal is to sell around 50 coffees a day. And on my first day, as I said, that was the main day, the busy day, I sold 30 coffees, which was great with no promotion. I set my Instagram account up to promote it just a few days before. So very little lead time in terms of marketing. And as a marketer, I know I should have done that probably a different way, but I was just focused on getting the business right and how I would feel comfortable operating in that on a day-to-day basis. And I think I did that well. So my effort was focused on the right area. Marketing can come later. I think it's just feeling comfortable about what you're doing, especially for somebody like me. I've just worked in offices my whole life, or I've sat in front of a computer my whole life, and I've never put myself out there like that, where I am also such a large part of the brand. The coffee is almost irrelevant. It's people come to the atmosphere and the people serving coffee. As long as you make an okay coffee, that's how I feel. I'm trying to create something where I'm a big element. Being a foreigner also is something a little bit different, and being a foreigner who can speak Japanese also sets it up really nicely to make it easier for Japanese people to come and buy. They don't, there's less of a wall because I can interact in Japanese and make it easier for the person buying. So yeah, the second day was very slow, but again, like, there's no point in looking at a slow day, the second day, as a failure. It's just what it was, and there's going to be days like that. So that means that from me running a business, how do I promote days where I see a pattern where there's less people coming in? How can I increase that foot traffic and customer base when I know that there's going to be a down day? From a face-to-face customer interaction point, I'm really about building the community and making a nice environment for people. But then, yeah, there's that element of me that wants to know how my business is running, not from a greed, money-making kind of perspective, but just from doing something well and learning from things that might not be going right and how to improve them. That's, again, this is why I'm doing Suboptimal podcast and talking about the suboptimal situations and improving on them and making things better little by little. So my overheads for the business were super low. I spent a total of 25,000 yen. So let's just call it $250, which is nothing. I bought beans. I bought a large Macchinetta. I had a small one already at home, so I just made sure that was spotless and ready to use to serve up on the day. And yeah, so all of that stuff was already paid for. I had scales and things like that, containers. I just bought some jugs and towels and sanitary types of stuff to make sure that my workstation was nice and clean and, by the book. So, and I made 30,000 yen in 2 days. I made the bulk of my money in the first day. And then, as I said, the second day was slower. But I've already got my return on investment plus a bit of money. So it's telling me to keep going. And if I invest more time into promoting and finding places and I guess business methods that work within Fukushima and the kind of lifestyle that people have here, that I think I can do well. If I'm only aiming to sell 50 coffees a day, and that's just like an initial goal. If I can sell more, I will. But 50 coffees a day is something that I could manage by myself quite easily and keep my costs super low. Like my lane is making mocha pot because I love it. Like I could make that all day and I did. So I'm going to continue to do that. It's about building a life that I can still go and pick up my son from school when I need to, and I can spend time with my wife and we can spend time as a family and I can go out and have fun with my friends. So I want to make myself an achievable goal that I can build from. And I think the thing that I like about most from all of this is that I've just kept it bare minimum. Like before I would be trying to attain perfection, and it's just not possible to do those things. Like if you want to build the best version of something, how do you know what that's even going to look like if you don't know anything about what you're doing, where you're working, who the customers are going to be, what the day-to-day is going to look like? If I go and spend $20,000 on an espresso machine and those types of things, then I'm already at this huge loss. Where in 2 days I spent $250 and I made $300 in 2 days. And one of those days wasn't, you know, a great day. But say if it was like the first day, I would have made even more and like been quite happy with that. So it's about making incremental improvements rather than expecting perfection to come from the first go. And I think the best way for me is to do it this way, to do something that I can manage and I can scale myself to a point where do I need an extra staff? What other things are we going to build into this business? Then I can kind of plan as I go and work on my business because I've still got that breadth and ability to think about working on the business. I'm not just in the business trying to make 200 coffees a day and just thinking about growing and growing and growing and growing and all of those types of things. That maybe that's how I would feel if I was operating a business in Australia, like a coffee shop, because it's just such a high demand business. But I've got a lot of things going for me, which are points of difference, which I can leverage off without being kind of, I don't know, disingenuous. You know, like the fact that I'm a foreigner is kind of a plus. The fact that I can speak Japanese as a foreigner is a bit of a plus. And the fact that I'm making this unique style of coffee and talking about that stuff. And yeah, like these are all points of difference that I can build upon. And I think my 50 customer per day goal is very achievable. It's just about where to take it from now. So the things we're going to do is I'm going to go speak with the owner about this and think about what days might work as a regular fixture at the curry restaurant. So that enables me to keep building on my customer base, bring in some revenue, keep my costs low, and then focus on the next steps. Where do I set up myself that I can start to attract people and build on that to the point where it might end up me being in a shop of my own, which is the goal. And I can make it like my, coming over to my home and sitting in my living room and having a coffee with me. That's the goal. So but that's going to take a while too. And the thing with this is that like I'm really happy with how it's gone. I'm happy with myself. I'm happy with the fact that I'm always learning and growing, and I feel really comfortable in this space. But I've said in a previous podcast that this is kind of a make or break thing for me as well, because me and my family are thinking about moving back to Australia. So if things don't really start to kind of take shape in the next couple of months, I'm just going to call it a day and chalk this up to a really good experience, life experience, and then just go back and be a career guy. I know there's a lot of negatives to doing that, but I'm thinking about my family and thinking about my son's future and being with my own family and friends back in Australia. And they're things that I really miss too. And as much as I really, really love Japan and I'd love for this to work out and be successful, I'm also cautiously optimistic about it. So we just have to see how it goes in the next couple of months. I think it's got potential to grow. I just don't know how late in the piece it is. So, but if I'm going to give any kind of like takeaways for this, is to just keep whatever you're doing bare minimum, and then fix it as you go. Because as soon as you publish something, as soon as you put something out there, you start to realize that you can find refinement straight away. And none of those things are failures at all. It's just refinements. They're improvements that need to be made. And when you can think of these things as improvements rather than, oh, I messed up again. Oh, this isn't working. You just kind of course correct and keep making those subtle improvements until you get it into a spot where you're happy, and then you review, and then you keep fixing it, growing it, review, make it bigger. And then you're also in a space that you're becoming more skilled about what you're doing as well. So you can speed up the process. You can find quicker ways to find solutions and improve the thing that you're doing. I guess the thing is that you need to keep going if you want it to succeed. And that's the crossroads that I'm at now, is that I know that I could make this succeed if I had a couple of years, but I'm running out of savings. So it's good that I've turned a little bit of a profit that I can reinvest that money into this business. But it might also be too little too late. Like, I want to start spending time supporting my family more. And if it's not through this way, then it's going to be through another way. So, but yeah, I guess also just to be comfortable with the choices that you make. So if I'm putting this coffee shop to bed, then I've got to be comfortable with it. I can't just go back to Australia and go, oh, I wish I was back in Japan, because being back in Australia will be the right decision for the right reasons, even if it feels a bit wrong at the time. So I hope that helps you apply things to your own life and your own situations. Things might work out, they might not always work out, but if you can be comfortable with that and you can always find ways to grow and improve what you're doing, I think it's going to help you be a better version of yourself. Certainly that's how I feel about myself. I feel so good about the person I am at the moment because of the thought processes I'm taking and the continual improvement, and never looking at anything that on the surface looks like a failure as a failure anymore. It's just an opportunity to grow. So yeah, that's it for today. Thanks so much for tuning in. If you're interested in learning more about the coffee shop and breakdowns and things like that, just let me know and I'll see if I can make another podcast about it. Or if you want to get any more updates, just let me know. Feel free to tell your friends about the podcast and subscribe, like, do all of those things. It's really going to help me grow this channel and continue to provide interesting and useful information for people out there. So I hope you all have a great day, and I'll speak to you soon. Cheers.